Being a Christian in a growing secular society that is drifting more and more away from the truth means that there is no choice but for us to defend the truth, even if the world is against it. Just as Saint Athanasius of Alexandria once said, "If the world is against the truth, then I am against the world." We as Christians must think this way and try our absolute best to refute every false and dangerous claim that attacks our faith. So if you are a Christian, then you have heard the saying, "I believe in science, not religion," at least once in your life. Now in this video, I want to show the Christian how to effectively respond to this type of language. Now we have to understand that this saying and language being spoken seems incredibly reasonable at first listen, and therefore convinces many that atheism is the logical worldview and Christianity is the illogical one. That Christians and other theists are blindly following a position that is not supported by science, while atheists are the ones that accept science and reality and truth. This notion is extremely dangerous and has tricked many, including myself at one point. But the reality of science coexisting with religion is surprising to a lot of people. So surprising, in fact, I became a Christian apologist. So first, we must look at what science is, and the Oxford English Dictionary has a clear and accepted definition, which is the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. So we must understand that we cannot use science to prove everything. There are many things that we use philosophy or history to answer, such as meaning in the cosmos, ethical principles, what makes beauty, how reliable a historical document is, and many other questions. But according to the definition in the OED, we can make scientific conclusions by observation, study, and experiment. So even though we do not have to use science to argue for God's existence, I will anyway. But if we do this, we have the burden of proof to show how God can be known through observation of the universe. Now, in my opinion, this is very simple to do, because just as we will learn about Leonardo da Vinci from observing his painting, so too will we learn about God when observing his creation, the universe. And the first thing we will observe is the rarity, complexity, and intricacy of the universe. If one were to deny the intricacy and complexity of the universe, he would be a very small minority among scientists. There are many atheists that have admitted to the extreme rarity of the universe, such as Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, Carl Sagan, Sam Harris, Lawrence Krauss, Stephen Hawking, and many others. But of course, not having a popular opinion does not mean you're wrong. So what about the universe is complex or rare? There are, according to the standard model constants, around 26 fundamental constants that make up our universe. Constants that have to be perfect for the universe and for us to exist, and make up the nature of the universe and how it is today. For example, the cosmological constant, which represents the energy density of space, which if were larger, would have made the universe expand way too quickly for stars and galaxies to form. If smaller, would have made the universe collapse on itself. The gravitational constant, which if were slightly stronger or weaker, stars might not form or could burn too quickly for life to evolve. The ratio of electromagnetic force to gravity, which if the electromagnetic force were too strong compared to gravity, atoms would not hold together. If too weak, the universe would lack chemistry. Now there are many other constants that make up the universe that you could look at yourselves, like the Hubble constant, Boltzmann constant, neutrino mass squared splittings, and the fine structure constant. So with all these constants having to be perfect for the existence of the universe, we can ultimately establish that the universe is an intricate and complex system that is perfectly fine-tuned for its own existence. So now let's zoom in. We have been observing God's creation by studying and observing the broad universe, but let's observe God's creation by studying the earth and humans. Zooming in on a very small part of the universe does not take away from the rarity, complexity, and intricacy, as some people may suggest. This is because if you were walking on a bunch of stones, let's say 19 million miles worth, for example, and on just one of those stones was a painting of a person as delicate as the Mona Lisa, we would still think it was designed by an intelligent mind. And that one stone that is so rare is the comparison to what Earth is like. So just to simplify the rarity of Earth, it is the perfect distance away from the sun. It has a unique combination of liquid water, a stable climate, a protective atmosphere, and conditions for complex life. And the complex life itself is a whole other thing to observe, like our anatomy and systems that, if healthy, work perfectly to keep a human alive, or the eyeball, which can be observed alone for a whole other video series. So with all these facts about the universe, Earth, and humans discussed, I would now like to give an analogy to help the viewer better understand the scenario he or she is in by living in such an incredible universe. So imagine yourself as a native walking on an island and you stumble across a grandfather clock. You have never seen a grandfather clock before, but as you observe it, you find it to be very intricate and complex. You look and study the precise design of the wood carving and the three hands that tick at exactly their set time. And because of these facts about this clock, you come to a conclusion that this clock is designed and finely tuned to work perfectly for its purpose. Now, this conclusion is not illogical, rather it is the most logical conclusion out of the other options, like thinking the clock coming into existence from purely natural and random events. If one were to believe a grandfather clock could pop up out of nowhere, then that person would respectively be called an idiot. Or one who believes a painting as delicate as the Mona Lisa could have come to be by paint cans exploding into a canvas. Even the simplest things like certain rock formations, carved trees, or a deep hole in the ground points us to a designer, a creator. But the universe doesn't. The universe is a number I can't even comprehend more intricately fine-tuned than a clock, a painting, even an oil rig, smartphone, let alone a silly rock formation. But still, some people have the ignorance to believe that the universe has no designer, but a rock formation does. These people, with all due respect, are ludicrous. Now, I have heard many exclamations from skeptics trying to find a reason for how the universe could be intricate and complex without a designer. As you can imagine, this is incredibly hard, and for the atheist to make an argument, he has to reach so far to a point where it is way too intellectually expensive. And one of these arguments is the multiverse hypothesis. The multiverse hypothesis tries to claim that an infinite amount of universes exist, and that our universe was just bound to happen. This theory does not solve the problem of rarity, it only kicks the can deeper into the alley of rarity. Because at first we only had one extremely rare universe, but now we have an infinite amount of rare universes. And also, my analogy from earlier also still holds for the multiverse. Even if there are an infinite amount of stones, only one that is extremely intricate and complex would convince anyone it was designed. So, let alone, the fine-tuning argument is an observation of the observable universe that works as evidence for God's existence, and is also a scientific conclusion. The next observation we can make is the observation of our own existence and being, the observation of everything existing, the question of where did everything come from, and most importantly, what caused the universe. This next observation implies a beginning to everything, which is an accepted position among atheistic scientists, like Stephen Hawking, Lawrence Krauss, Alexander Lincoln, C.N. Carl, Leonard Susskind, Victor Stenger, and more. But again, not having a popular opinion does not make you wrong. So why does the universe have to have a beginning? Well, first, what is the universe? When I refer to the universe, I am referring to the realm of time, space, and matter. So did time, space, and matter come into existence, or did they always exist? I would suppose that time had to have a start, but does not necessarily need or have an end. But from what we know, time always goes forward, not backwards. And just that fact alone already implies a start. For example, my car goes forward, but if my car did not start to go forward, then it would not be going forward. But since my car is going forward, it must have started to go forward. What you should get from this example is that for something to be going or moving forward, then it must have started to go forward. And since time is going forward, it must have had a start. So if time has a beginning, then so does space and matter. This is because matter and space make up what we call the material realm, and anything that is material is dependent on time. So if space and matter are dependent on time, then space and matter cannot exist without time. And since time started, so did space and matter. Complicated. But okay, the universe has a beginning, so what, you may be asking? Well, we have to understand that everything with a beginning also has a cause to its beginning. So now we ask, what is this cause? Or better yet, what could this cause be? There is a criteria for what this cause could be. First, it has to be independent of time, space, and matter, obviously. This is simply because of the principle of a creator not being made of his creation, and also, of course, the universe did not exist when the cause existed. Therefore, this cause was not made of time, space, and matter. Second, it has to be extremely powerful. This is because anything that can cause or create such a thing would obviously be extremely powerful. This is a given for a cause of the universe. And finally, it has to be extremely intelligent. And this is part where the fine-tuning argument collides with this argument. For a cause or creator to be able to create and precisely fine-tune the universe perfectly, it would have to be extremely intelligent, according to our standard at least. This is also a given. You could very well zoom in even more with this criteria and even say it has to be personal, because it created us, and, depending on your beliefs, also gave us objective moral oughts that we are bound to. But just the first three, like being transcendent, powerful, and intelligent, already gives us a sound definition of God. This criteria is what the first cause of the universe has to be. It cannot be anything else. So putting these two arguments together, we find for the material universe to exist, we need a creator of the universe. And even if you don't think so, you still have the problem of rarity, the question of how could the universe be so rare, intricate, and complex without an intelligent designer behind it. These two arguments are perfect examples of scientific observations that point us to the existence of God. So most of us theists do not just blindly follow a God that has no evidence. Literally, quite the opposite. Galileo Galilei, the father of modern science, once said, "I do not feel obliged to believe that the same God who endowed us with sense, reason, and intellect has intended us to forego their use." Galileo saw science and faith as complementary, rather than conflicting. He thought that the scriptures and science were both sources of God's creation. This is why many Christians today say that we can find out truths about God by using the Bible and the book of nature, which is otherwise known as science. Isaac Newton also once said, "This most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being." Newton's faith influenced his work, as he viewed science and the laws of nature as evidence for God's existence, as I have discussed in this video. Johannes Kepler said, "I was merely thinking God's thoughts after him, since we astronomers are priests of the highest God in regard to the book of nature. It benefits us to be thoughtful, not to the glory of our minds, but rather, above all else, the glory of God." Blaise Pascal said, "The heart has its reasons of which reason knows nothing." So as you can see, most early scientists viewed their work in science as the study and observation of God's creation. So the next time an atheist asks you why you believe in God, tell them that you believe in science. Because what I can get from this video is that yes, we do believe in science. So much, in fact, we also believe in God. So thank you for listening. Share your thoughts in the comments, and I hope you learned something. God bless.